ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the 61st episode of your Tuesday Track Talk podcast. I am Kellen, your Jackman.
I'm your tire changer, Cam.
And I'm your gas man, Cam.
And we kind of have two primary topics for the week. We're going to go ahead and cover all of the news and everything that involved change in the last week. So we'll go ahead and knock that out right away. And then we get to finally circle back on an episode we did a year ago, which is crazy to think. So we're going to go ahead and look back at what our NASCAR report cards were leading into the 2024 season. So we're going to see who struck out and who hit the home run on this whole deal about a year ago. But real quick before we get started, I always think it's worth a mention. If you're seeing this on YouTube or you're listening on the go, you have all of those options as well to listen on the go on any of your favorite platforms, along with listening on the go. If you want to see all of the live reactions, you can catch everything right on the YouTube channel. So just before we forget that as we get into this. So, gentlemen, how was the last week?
I will say I am pretty tired right now.
Oh,
There we are.
There we are. You're back.
I don't know what happened. I was at the Packer game last night, and I got home at 11 o'clock. Officially pulled in at 11:05 in my garage, and I had a 6 a.m. flight this morning for work. So, pretty quick turnaround.
Oof to May.
So yeah, I'm a tad tired, but I'm here. I'm alive. The boss asked me if I needed a nap, which my response was yes, but nonetheless, I am here.
Hell yeah. Cam?
Living the dream, man. Looking at the report card that I did last year and just realizing I got a couple F's on there. So ready to dive into that and probably get roasted for some of my thoughts and expectations. So yeah, ready to rock and roll.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into this first segment, which we still is unnamed. This is all of the recent news in the last week in terms of driver changes, crew chief changes, performance changes, organizational changes. We have it all in this segment. I'll go ahead and rip this first one. We forgot about this one last week, but well worth to mention. Ty Fredrickson takes home the Quickie Driver Development Program for 2024. So, pretty cool deal. That program has a lot of different metrics that they track, from number of races, strength of field, and then along with community service type work in terms of charity donations and other items like that. So the youngster got himself a second title on the year.
Another Midwest guy getting that honor as well.
Yep.
As you could say, bringing the award home in a way.
Yeah, for sure. So just forgot to mention that one last week. So well worth the mention for the youngster.
Yep.
So all right, on to the next one.
I think I'll take this next one, unless Cam wants it.
Go ahead. I'll chime in at the second part of it.
So Daniel Hemrick announces that he will be going to I want to make sure I get this right, the McAnally Higgleman Racing Group in that number 19, formerly driven by Christian Eckes, starting next year for the Craftsman Truck Series.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was going to say a bit of a step down, but definitely going into a quality ride.
Yeah, their truck's proven it. They can win races.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll chime in here, not on the segment that I see, staying in the same camp. It was announced today, Tyler Ankrum is returning to BMR and running it back with the same crew chief, Mark Hillman. So the BMR camp looks like their lineup is starting to come to form, and got 2 rides solidified for 2025 already.
Yeah, they have that 43 as well that's open. So that was vacated by Daniel Dye. Uh, Go ahead and jump it into the Xfinity Series. Chris Wright announces he'll be driving the number 5 for our motorsports. So another Xfinity car full and ready to go for next year.
I think one that we all were waiting on, had rumors heavily on, and finally got the confirmation of it. Riley Herbst will go to 2311 in the Cup Series next year. He will be driving the 35 for this one.
Interesting number selection.
I see it was combined from, they took the 3 from Jordan's 23 and the 5 from his 45.
Pretty much, kind of how they did it.
So
Hmm.
And then Devin Restivo will be his
Yeah.
crew chief.
Okay. All right.
interesting. Of note there, that's another manufacturer change for a driver.
Yep.
Herbst was in the SHR camp for a while in that 98 Monster. So he makes the manufacturer change from Ford to Toyota and bringing some serious money with him and Monster Energy. So
Did you guys see the photo of it was it was Riley Herbst, Ty Gibbs, and Tyler Reddick.
Good luck
All what
super
Yeah,
speedway when they get together.
exactly. Exactly.
You got three cars that look exactly the same.
All Toyotas, almost the same number font, all monster.
Yep. The only thing that's
Yikes.
different is the number.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. Real.
I'll hop in here on the next one. NASCAR getting a little COTA news here. NASCAR going to a shorter layout at COTA next year, going from 2.3 miles per lap down. Oh,
It's
sorry,
going
they're going
down.
to 3.2.3 miles down from
Yep.
3.4 miles. So shorter laps, but action is only going to increase there because they are keeping it 20 turns as well. So cutting a little over a mile off a lap, but still the same turn. So shorter track, more action.
Yep. These next three are kind of all linked together. So I guess I'll take these ones since I put this one in. Some
Yep.
competition changes at RCR. So Keith Rodden will go from the interim competition director to the VP of competition on the team. John Klossmeyer will join the team as a technical director, formerly with SHR. And then Richard Boswell will be the crew chief for Austin Dillon next year, who was formerly with Chase Briscoe at SHR.
Wow. A lot of changes at RCR.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everything's changing except for the drivers, it feels like.
Yeah.
Speaking of changes, and I think when we saw this one come out, we were very much surprised.
Along with a certain driver.
And Denny will allude to it there. Denny was very surprised himself when he called into a 6 a.m. meeting and he said, yeah, I don't like 6 a.m. meetings anymore. Joe Gibbs announces that Chris Gale will move over from the 54 and crew chief on the 11 for Denny Hamlin. Chris Gabehart will be moving to their competition director. So,
Which was empty, I think, since 23, actually.
yeah, it's been open for a little while. But anyhow, needless to say that change was very much a surprise for the driver, Denny Hamlin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I guess
interesting move there.
and I guess the best. I guess I don't know. I guess the comparison I was going to have is, when you have the star player, you have the Aaron Rodgers on your team, and it's like, just don't want to upset him, so you kind of consult him before you make any moves. It feels like that was Denny, and he was not consulted nor made aware of the move, and that is, we'll see what happens. But it is going to be interesting to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeesh.
More housework.
Good Lord.
Well,
Who's
hop in
this?
here. Matt McCall gets fired from RFK, and he's heading over to Spire and going to be the director of vehicle performance. And Dax Geringer, which I believe he was coming from SHR, is going to be the technical director. So Spire making moves and spending some money and bringing over some knowledge from different teams. So interesting moves. Good to see different guys getting second chances and new opportunities after they lost their jobs. But big moves for Spire. So hopefully we'll see all it's going to pay off, because I know I got an F on their report card. So hopefully these two moves will boost the production and performance for next year.
Well, and I know we've mentioned it on here before that Spire has been making a lot of moves here with the expectation, yep, money moves at that, with the expectation of having some really right out of the gate results. You know, they're going
Yep.
to be coming out swinging next year. So
Yep.
this is just kind of another result of that.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
I guess I'll take these next two since these are both kind of open wheel things, little stuff I'm a little more familiar with. I love this name. Stingray Robb will join Junkos Hollinger Racing in 2025. He was formerly with AJ Foyt Racing, so he'll be with a new team starting in 2025. And then Formula One grants application for General Motors on with the Cadillac branding to be the 11th team in Formula One starting in 2026. So most notably, Michael Andretti has been trying to get a Formula One team for the past couple of years. Was initially rejected at the beginning of the year, and now General Motors has come in with some help with Andretti, I believe, and finally gets an 11th team. So we'll have 11 teams, 22 drivers on the grid
Nice.
in 26.
Cool. Another year out, but gives them a chance to get their stuff together per se.
And we get another American presence in Formula One.
Yep.
Big turnout at Vegas, I see.
Well, and you run a race at midnight.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Couple thousand empty seats there, but
Don't stop on the escalator, you'll get a ticket too.
Jesus.
Yikes. Chase Purdy not returning to the 77 Spire Motorsports truck. So we got another truck seat open.
Yep.
Have to assume, talk about Spire wanting to spend money. I'm going to have to assume that the truck's going to get a competitive truck driver.
Yep, for sure.
We'll see who we still got a lot of truck rides open. The more I think about it, Rev Racing's got the tools open.
Yep.
Spire's got a truck open. McAnally's got a truck open.
Might have to put a list together and see who's still got what going.
Oh yeah, there's some trucks that are open yet. So be curious to see what happens.
Yep.
well, good news is too, we know a quality truck driver that's looking for a ride. So
Mhm.
could make a suggestion to some of those higher ups. But I'll hop in here. The next one, we mentioned it last week on the podcast as breaking news, just as we were wrapping
It
up.
was
But
rumored, at least, not
rumored,
actually
yeah, it was
confirmed. Yeah.
sorry. It was rumored, but it is confirmed. JTG Doherty Racing has rebranded to Hyak Motorsports, spelled HYAK, pronounced HIACK, Hyak. So
They got that
don't know.
hot and spit on it.
Jesus.
Yeah, not sure what the if there's any meaning to Hayak, or what the finer details of what it means, but it's no more JTG. It is Hayak for the 47 team.
Most notably too, I'm just making sure we're not missing something here. Yes. So obviously Ryan Priest jumped over to the 60 with the announcement that Kroger was going to be on the sponsor. That team is still looking for a primary sponsor too.
Oofda.
Tough looks.
So of note. Final one here. More crew chief news. We were talking about Matt McCall no longer with Keselowski. Well, Keselowski found his replacement. Jeremy Bullins will be moving from Wood Brothers and will be crew chief for Brad Keselowski in 2025. A somewhat familiar pairing there, going back to their Penske days.
Yeah, you had to know Bullins was going to find himself a job after they announced that Childers was moving over. No, I can't remember who this,
Oh,
but it was a
McCall
veteran.
got dismissed. Yeah, it was.
Either way, when they made the announcement, there was no surprise there, but you knew Bullins was going to land on his feet for sure. Proven he can win. Um,
Miles Stanley.
oh, Stanley, never
Miles
mind.
Stanley went to Wood Brothers.
Anyhow, you had to know that Bullins was going to land on his feet without a doubt.
Yep.
So, well, that kind of wraps up what's been a wild week of news. Van Grohl, you want to kind of run us through a few winners from last week?
Yeah, it's been a little bit since we kind of touched on winners from the weekend. So, and we had a few races obviously go on this weekend. I kind of slacked off on racing, especially with USAC getting postponed till Sunday, and obviously I was at the Packer game, so I did not get to see any of it. But Carson Macedo won at Thunder Bowl on the 20th, which he's getting some discussions going.
Carson
Um,
Torpedo.
um, We had the big South Carolina 400 out at Florence Speedway. Bad showing by Flo with a very uncharacteristic showing by Flo, which Florence came out with their statement, which you've got.
Thank
I
you.
think you want to cover that.
Yeah, Flo caught a lot of shit for that. Excuse my language. They caught a lot of shit for that. It wasn't their fault. The track came out and said they just didn't. What it comes down to is they didn't realize their infrastructure wasn't ready for that many people there at the track at that single time with that broadcast going. So really what happened is they had internet issues at the track and Flo was just kind of stuck with what they were dealt.
Yep.
So I mean, I know Flo caught a lot of shit for that, but ultimately, if you were somebody that bought that race and you spent the $40 for the month or whatever it was, that package, I promise you, watch the Dome or watch the Derby. It will change your mind in a heartbeat.
Yep. You will get your money's worth.
You have to give Flo a second chance.
Yep.
That's all I'm
Absolutely.
asking.
Yep.
So I know people are up in arms about it, but golly almighty, let's give them a little bit of grace here for a second.
I tell you what, for the bits that we were able to see, Dale Jr. was making a run for himself.
Dude went
Holy
from
cow.
40th to second in the first 125 laps.
Yup. And he ran second up until he had that fuel pump issue.
Yep.
So, Trayton Lapsevich ends up winning that one. Another big win for him in a late model stock. He'll be a threat coming next year in that car. So, speaking of Formula One in Vegas, George Russell wins out in Vegas, and Max Verstappen locks up his fourth consecutive championship in Formula One.
Box stop and do.
I'm surprised you know that, actually. Kudos to you.
Yeah, it's on Instagram.
And then, like I said, USAC, they fought some rain over the weekend, but they did get their racing in at Merced Speedway on Sunday with some doubleheader action. Corey Day ends up winning race number 1 in the afternoon, and then Kyle Larson won race number 2 out at Merced. So Larson getting back into normal form, and he had a little bit of a ride in the 360 there over the weekend as well.
Uh, yeah, yeah. He
Stand
sure
on
did.
it.
And then I forget who it was, but the another wing 360 that did that barrel roll and kept on digging.
Oh, yeah, old boy in qualifying.
Yeah,
He literally went ass over tea kettle and landed on all fours and just he gave her the
felt
old
this.
takedown and said, "Yeah, we're good."
Yep, and kept going,
Yep.
kept digging. So kudos to that. So
Yeah.
um, that was pretty much all we had for the weekend. Like I said, it's been a while since we touched on other drivers over the weekend, so I just figured touch on that real quick.
Cool. Well, here's where we're going to get into the main conversation of the episode here before we touch on a few race previews for the weekend. So we're going to circle back. If you've been watching and following along, episode number 19 was the original report cards that we had put out leading up to the 2024 Cup Series season. So we kind of left it open for the three of us. We kind of picked teams, organizations, I should say. And it was kind of left open for interpretation of how you wanted to present what your expectations were for 2024. And boy, I don't did anyone really kill it or did we struggle
I
here?
I got close with one of mine.
Okay.
I had the right idea, just wrong combination, I guess you would say. I overshot on one of them, which for the record we had three. We had three each.
Yep.
And then I overshot two of them and I got pretty damn close on another one. So,
That's fair. I was close with one, kind of right in the wheelhouse with another, and then the third one I struggled with. So yeah, I was like a 1.5 for three,
sure.
if you want to call it that.
I would kind of go
Uh,
along those lines. Yeah.
if you're looking for a grade on mine, mine was just an absolute bomb job, top to bottom. Um,
Which teams did you have? Let's
uh,
go that route. Who'd you have?
we struck out 0 for 3, to say the least here, with 3 strikeouts. Didn't even make contact. We had Spire, RFK, and JGR.
Van Grohl?
I had Trackhouse, the Legacy Motor Club, and Team Penske.
And then I had Hendrick, 2311, and SHR.
All right. So how do we want to tackle this? Do you want to just all three of us tackle this at once, or do we kind of round robin it?
Well, that or do we want to go by organization? Let's go each guy.
Okay.
Who
Let's
wants to
just
start?
let's just do each. Let's just go round robin. Everybody takes a team and does one team, and we'll just round robin it.
All
Okay.
right.
That way,
Um,
one person isn't talking for 20 straight minutes.
Okay, I'll go first.
All
My
right.
team, the first team I had talked through was Hendrick Motorsports.
And bro, we can fact check his.
Yep. I'm already on it.
Perfect.
Hendrick Motorsports expectation was to win both the driver and the owner championship. That was the
L.
expectation. Yep,
Felt
L.
that.
Um, my final grade, was an A plus. I had all four drivers in the playoffs.
Which that
Um,
came through.
yep. And then I had two drivers in the final four being Byron and Larson.
Which you got half of it right.
Yep. And then when I tiered them, the drivers, I tiered them as Byron, Larson, Bowman, Elliott.
So you had Bowman and Elliott flip flop basically.
Yep. And I gave the team a ranking in the top two in organizations.
Which I don't know about you, Cam, but I could argue that I could agree with that. Number two.
Two top three for sure.
Yep.
it just when you start to separate hairs at the top there, it gets very, 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 very close. So
Yeah.
wins, I gave him an A. Top fives, I gave him a B plus, and top tens, I gave him an A minus. So I mean, pretty pretty damn close on those. So
Yep.
I mean, I guess when I just looked at it initially, I was looking at drivers in the playoffs and then the final four, which I was 1 for 2 on my guys in the final four. So that was my first one.
I guess I'll go second here. Um, my first one I'll be that I have here, and I'm just gonna go in order, whatever I had them presented as. I
Mhm.
had Trackhouse Racing as my first team here. Um, of note, I did do this just for Chastain and Suarez.
Yep.
So any one-off rides like Shane Van Gisbergen or any of them other guys, they were not included in this.
Yep.
So I had 3 wins for the organization, all of them coming from Chastain. Pretty much an L on that one. Chastain got one, Suarez got one.
Yep.
I had 17 top fives amongst the organization. Uh, Suarez had 4 and Chastain had 6. So we're sitting at 10. So swung for the fences, missed on that one. Top tens, I had 29 top tens. I had 9 for Suarez, or we've got 9 for Suarez and 14 for Chastain, which gives us 25.
Pretty close.
Yep.
You were in the ballpark.
I had guessed 19 for Chastain and 10 for Suarez. That's how I had it. Drivers in the playoffs, I had Chastain getting eliminated in the round of 8. Completely biffed on that one. Chastain didn't even make the playoffs, and Suarez did. Which I don't remember the round he got eliminated. I believe it was in the round of 16.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Um, so I had an overall grade of a B for this one, is what I gave him. If I had to go back, and obviously based on what we had, I would probably give him a C based on performance.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's a very fair for the moves that they've been making. I feel like we expected their performance to pick up a little bit more.
Yep. So that's where I was sitting at for that one. Obviously, they've got some big things coming up next year with Van Gisbergen coming onto the scene, and jumping into their third car there.
Yep. Cam, who you got? Who's your first org?
All right. From least to best organization here, starting with Spire Motorsports, Corey LaJoy, Zane Smith, and Carson Hosfar. And in my defense on this prediction, I could not have predicted we had the first ever NASCAR driver trade when I predicted this. So this one,
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
these results might be a little bit skewed, but um, with the drivers I was expecting, LaJoy, Smith, and Hocevar, here's some statistics that I had throughout there. Um, top tens, 21.
We had.
Top t-
Oh, sorry. I
top
was just gonna
tens,
try and do the math quick.
and I got them 14 top tens. So uh, 2 for 3 there. Top fives, I have predicted 7. We had 4 within the organization. Wins, I predicted 1. We had 0. Drivers in the playoffs, I predicted 1. And I believe Hocevar made it, didn't he?
No, he did not.
No, he did
Nope.
not. So,
No Spire in the playoffs.
anyways, with that, I gave them an overall grade. If they hit that, an A plus based on expectations for that organization. Definitely didn't get an A plus because they didn't even get a driver in the playoffs. Looking at this, I'd probably give them a B minus.
I
I mean, your top tens and top fives, you were not far off. I'll give you
Yeah.
that.
Zane Smith had a pretty decent just before the playoffs run and even beginning of the playoffs run, and then Holsvar really came on as of late.
And Zane Smith was inches away from winning Nashville
Yep.
when he finished second there to Logano. But um, yeah,
And
obviously a young crew there. And I don't know. That those statistics might get a little bit better there towards the end if, depending on how Justin Haley ran to finish the year. But neither here nor there, I overshot it a little bit on across the board.
I definitely like if you came into the season and told me that Holsevar and Zane would have led the organization over LaJoy, I would have kind of said you were crazy.
That's your boy.
That's kind of how it ended up being. Holsevar really showed that he took the reins of that car. Did he have some moments? Absolutely.
moments.
But he had some really good, hey, I'm here to compete moments as well.
True. He did. And the bad part is it kind of gets overshadowed by the roughed up moments a little bit, I think.
Yep.
So,
So, and
um,
who's to say with him, with Michael McDowell coming in the fold now too on that organization?
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
we just mentioned them gearing up for, hey, we're coming out swinging this year or
Yeah,
next year, I
for
should
sure.
say.
Think I could duplicate this slide, and that would be actually add McDowell to the mix. I think I could increase those numbers a little bit.
Sure.
The
Yeah,
top tens and top fives wins I would keep one or two, but add McDowell, Hocevar again got another year under his belt. I think they're building something.
Hmm.
yeah. All right, looking at my second team, I had 23-11. My expectations for them was one car in the final four.
Get that
Top
one.
top tens, I gave him a C plus. Top fives, I gave him a B minus. Wins, I gave him a B minus. I said that both cars were going to make the playoffs, and I only picked Reddick to make the final four. So I knocked that one out of the park. Again, with the driver tier, Reddick being the spearhead of the organization, and then I gave them a team ranking of somewhere between 4 and 8.
Which I don't, if I had to put them somewhere, I would almost put them just based on Reddick's performance. I mean, I could make it, maybe make an argument for third, but definitely fourth.
Mm-hmm. When you think about it, you got Hendrick, Penske, and Gibb, and then it's kind of free reign and free picking from there.
Yep.
You're up against the Trackhouse, you're up against the Spire, you're up against an RFK.
Yep.
That's kind of where you shake out. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I look at this when I predicted we had one car in the final four being Reddick, pretty damn close.
And the
So,
way that he was looking, he gave himself a hell of an argument to be the champ going into that one.
absolutely, for sure. So, actually, pretty damn close for the old 23-11 predictions there for 2024.
Nope.
So,
All right. This is going to be one that I definitely swung and miss on overall.
oh boy.
Let's go. Let's
Legacy
go.
Motor Club. So I this again. This was just for Eric Jones or John Hunter Nemechek. Nothing with Johnson or anything like that. So let's start with top tens. I predicted that we have 11 top tens, and we ended up with 2 for Jones and 4 for Nemechek. So we had 6 in total.
Uh,
Uh, top fives. So I came pretty close.
yeah,
Top fives, I had 4. We had 1 for Jones, 0 for Nemechek. So I kind of swung and missed there.
yeah,
Wins, I really swung and missed. I had him having 1 win with Jones, swung and miss.
yeah,
And then I had Jones via that win getting into the playoffs, which obviously that didn't happen.
yep. I would assume getting eliminated in the round of 16.
Correct.
Yep,
So the overall grade I would have gave him then at that point would have been a C plus, which I would almost put it at a I don't know. I could see still staying at that C plus. I could see it going down to a D as well.
Yeah.
So not quite the year I expected him to have, but I think we got to remember that they also did a manufacturer swap this year. They went from Chevy to Toyota this year.
Yeah. Yeah, JHN being his first year, but I guess I expected a little bit more out of Jones.
Yep.
I did. Like I felt like he was gonna take the reins and be at least call it 3 races on the year. He was gonna have a chance to win something, and it just never even really felt like he had a shot to win anything this year.
Yeah, and I kind of let's see here. I want to go back here and find out. God dang it! I want to go to Darlington because Darlington has always been a good track for Jones.
Jones. Yep.
Yep. I just want to see where he was at for that one. Ooh boy, I'm gonna have to go 24th. Just 24th
Oh,
at
good.
Darlington. At least in the fall race. If we go to the spring race,
I mean, he's a Southern 500 winner,
correct, two-time. And then he was 19th in the spring race there.
so not any better, really.
Mhm.
Damn.
So,
I don't know. I'm with you though. I just expected a little bit more out of Jones.
yep.
JHN rookie season, I can kind of understand that, but
JHN showed up a little bit.
yeah, here and there he did for sure. Wasn't like he was in the back all the time, but
Correct. Yep. So,
I don't know.
we'll
I just
this will definitely be let's see what year two with the organization brings and kind of the insight that Johnson gives that team.
yeah, for sure. Cam, team two.
Yeah, let's continue the slide here. We went ahead. Next one, we hopped over to the Ford camp and we went to Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. Couple statistics here for you and expectations. Top tens, I predicted 43 top tens from those two cars. Uh, Pretty lofty there. Expected 43 top tens. We got 29. Top fives, pretty lofty here. We went 31. We got 15.
Ooh.
Wins, I expected 4, and we got 2. And then drivers in the playoffs, I expected 2, and we got 1. And then drivers in the final 4, 0. So looking at this, I mean, I expected a little bit more than what I got, maybe a little bit too much. Um, but I look at top fives and I look at, wins, and I don't think, I guess I guess the biggest part here that I'm struggling with is that we couldn't get both of those cars in the playoffs.
Yep.
Busher and Keselowski are two guys that they're veterans. They have the knowledge, they have the experience that I expected both of those cars to be in the playoffs and not just sneak in, but get both of them get to the round of 12 and maybe even make a push for the round of 8. So, um,
Now, given Busher was literally a thousandth of a second away from being in.
correct. Um, but I don't care how close he was; he didn't make it.
Didn't make it. Yep, 100%.
Um, so yeah, I guess that's the biggest part that I struggle with right there is those. There's no reason those two cars should not be in the playoffs together between those two drivers. Um, the wins, I don't think I was that far off in expecting 4 wins between those two. Um, Maybe a little bit lofty, but again,
If you
you
told me
look
they won 3 races across the course of the year, I wouldn't have been surprised at all.
Nope, absolutely.
and I mean Busher, almost did that himself last year.
He did
Yeah.
20,
3 in a row.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, I didn't think 4 was too lofty, but it's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and only was able to sneak out 2. So
Yeah. And you knew Keselowski, especially after last year, you knew he was going to win this year, which obviously he did.
Yep.
But yeah, it's and Keselowski said he was definitely kind of, and I had the bullet points, but he definitely said there was definitely some things that the organization needed to work on, and he's doing kind of full facelift of the organization with Priest coming in as well, kind of
Yep.
getting that new feel for the team too. So
yeah, and it Brad's in what his that was his this completes his second year
yep.
as driver owner, and you know take it for what it's worth. It depends on your patience level. You guys aren't too patient with the Badger football team, but
Mm-hmm.
um, in year 2 for Brad, um, he's
Third,
got a lot on his
I
plate
think
here.
it's third. Hold please, I'm
Is
double
it third
checking.
already?
If it's his third year, we've got even more problems.
Hold on, I'm double checking here. Yep, third year, started in 22.
Well, I would say his seat's getting hot, but it's hard to fire the owner. So um,
Yeah.
his seat's pretty safe.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you. He ain't gonna fire himself.
Yep.
And I guess looking back at it here, overall grade I gave him a B plus based on the expectations. Um, Considering they missed on every single expectation I had, I would, I'm sliding him to probably a B minus C plus range. Um,
Yeah.
average at best. Um, yeah, I would just say average.
Yep.
So I think the expectations are going to continue to grow for that organization and those 2 drivers, 2 experienced drivers. Brad's going into his 4th year. Busher's been around long enough. Those 2. If you give me this report card, I could almost duplicate this slide and say these are my expectations, and I would even increase a few of those numbers a little bit. So
Yeah. All right.
Fair enough.
Jumping down to my last organization quick. I had SHR, and boy, oh boy, was this a rough one. Um,
You also did predict the organization close at the end of the year, so
yeah. So here's where we're at with SHR. Yeah, a year ago, I had the expectations as 2+ cars in the playoffs, and I had a car in the round of 8.
which you didn't get either.
No. Top tens, I gave him a B minus. Top fives, I gave him a C plus. Wins, I gave him a B minus. All not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Drivers in the playoffs, I predicted Barry Gregson and Briscoe all to get in. Not good. No cars in the final 4. And then when I tiered the drivers, and I was close but not quite, I had Barry, Briscoe, Gregson, Priest. So I had Briscoe and Barry backwards. So I had the team ranked as somewhere in the 4 to 8 range.
Definitely kind of put them on the lower end.
Heavy on the 6 to 8 range.
Yeah.
So high expectations. I was expecting the Gregson and Barry moves to kind of pump that whole deal up, and boy oh boy, I was a wee bit optimistic for that whole crew.
Gregson showed speed at times. He definitely had some moments. I don't know. Barry just seemed to struggle, in all
The
honesty.
only race he really had something going on was that wild Bristol race.
Yeah. Yep.
But I just never could seem to find it. I don't know.
Barry had 10 DNFs.
Oof, that's a third of the season.
Hmm.
So very, very optimistic I was for that whole organization. So that's a big swing and a miss for me.
Yep. All right. My third and final team was Team Penske. So buckle up here, fellas. Here we go. Top tens. I had 44 amongst them. Blaney had 18, which I predicted he would have. So I hit that on the head. Uh, Logano, I predicted to have 18. He had, or yeah, I predicted him to have 18 as well. He had 13. And then Cindric, I predicted to have 8. He had 7.
Okay, so
So
pretty close.
I got pretty close on the top tens.
Yep.
Top fives, I predicted Blaney to have 10. He had 12. Uh,
Oh,
Logano, I expected to have 10. He had 7. Cindric, I expected to have 3. He had 4.
so you pretty much broke even if you numbered them out there.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Now here's a good number here. Wins. I predicted that the organization would have 6 wins. I said Cindric would have a win. Check mark.
You asshole.
I predicted to have Blaney to have 3 wins. Check mark.
Holy shit.
I predicted Logano to have 2 wins. He ended up with 4.
Damn.
Uh, drivers, I had obviously all 3 drivers in the playoffs. I had Cindric getting eliminated in the round of 16. I actually did not get that one. He ended up moving on.
Yep.
Um, I had Logano getting eliminated in the round of 12. That almost happened.
He tried.
And then I had Blaney in the championship for with not repeating. I was correct in that statement, but I also had Logano in the not in the playoffs. So
Yep.
I had him at based on those expectations, I had him at an A minus. I think in all honesty, based on what came of that, I think that's an A plus. I mean, I think they hit it out of the park.
Absolutely. To have they had a 50% chance to win a championship.
Yep. I
They
think
had two in
Cindric had a
Final Four.
lot better year and
Yeah,
Logano came on at the end of the year.
Cindric showed some speed, kind of late in the regular season, leading into the playoffs. He was
Yep.
kind of hitting his stride. He was having some good finishes. He was up there.
Yep.
So yeah, he showed it when he
Showed
showed it
it
when
when he
he
needed it most.
yep.
Yep. So I think Penske, they're definitely a second half team right around that Coke 600 date. They start kicking into high gear. You could you could probably say that Indy 500's over, so they could focus a little bit more on the NASCAR side of things.
Yep.
But they are definitely proving that they could definitely be the top 4 team, if not the top 4 team.
Yep.
So and showing that they've got themselves a halfway decent crew amongst themselves as well.
Yep.
So obviously winning their third straight championship as well as an organization.
Yeah.
And you start throwing out stats like that. So what are we missing that they're not the top Ford organization?
No, I'm saying that they have to be at this rate.
No, they are.
Yeah. Yep. I mean,
Check that box too.
yeah. Yep. Pretty much. So yeah, you get all 3 cars in the playoffs. 2 of them in the championship 4. All of them are winners. You hit I mean, all the stats you could be looking for. Really, if there's one thing that you could work on, I mean, Logano had 6 DNFs, Blaney had 7 DNFs, and Cindric had 4. So, and maybe consistency would be about the thing. But I tell you what, when they're hitting on all cylinders, they are hitting on all cylinders.
Yep.
So
For sure.
that was my final team, and that was Team Penske.
Camp?
Oh yeah, we'll wrap this bad boy up with I had in the Toyota camp I had JGR, Joe Gibbs Racing, drivers Gibbs, Bell, MTJ, and Denny Hamlin. And we'll just start here that um, I should have taken into consideration the retirement curse of the 19 because that significantly impacted, I'd say, the numbers across the board. But if you're ready for some lofty expectations, let's jump right in here. Top tens, top tens for JGR. We expected 92. um,
Holy shit.
we knocked out 64.
Oofed.
And
Oofed.
be surprised that Ty Gibbs outpaced Martin Truex Jr. for top tens.
Yeah.
We hop into top fives. Expectation here was 51. We knocked out 40. You'll be happy to expect or happy to learn that Gibbs outpaced Martin Truex Jr. in top fives as well. And then wins, we expected 9, and we got 6. 3 from Hamlin, 3 from Bell, 0 from MTJ, 0 from Gibbs. That left me with drivers in the playoffs. I expected 4. We got 4. And then drivers in the final 4. I put 2 in the final 4. We got 0. All because of some bullshit manipulation and ruling on a wall ride. So um, it's all right. The expectations for that or that grade, overall grade, I gave an A minus based on those expectations. Um, we're just a bit below that, so we'll knock them down to a B plus.
Brother, who did your math for you?
Yeah.
Oh,
You might need to rehire here.
oh
Reconsider your options.
shit.
Why?
91 or 2 top tens?
Well, I mean,
Brother, you got three cars. You got to be putting 3 cars in the top
30,
10.
36 races and 4 cars on that team.
I think the biggest takeaway from the Gibbs organization this year, though, there's 2 of them, and they're Truex and Gibbs not winning a race this year.
Yeah.
I think
And
everybody had on their bingo card Gibbs winning a race this year.
in my
I
top
did.
fives, yeah. Okay, the top 10's 92. That I'll give you guys that. Definitely a little bit lofty. The top fives here, 51, and we hit 40. That 40 number is that 40 number. If we don't have a retirement curse, we're a little bit closer there. The way his year went, these numbers should be ran based off of 3 cars.
Jesus Christ.
I mean,
So you're basically saying that the top, like each guy should have gotten 24 top tens. The top 10, the top 10 getter this year was Christopher Bell of the Gibbs camp, and he only had 23.
what one man can do, another man can do as well.
I mean, holy
Okay,
Christ.
I mean, again,
You
there's
got
no.
lofty.
I'll stand. I'll be the front. I'll stand in the front row and take the first bullet there to say that was those expectations were a little bit absurd.
I'll
We'll
give you
see.
this though. I'll give you this though. Uh, Bell and Hamlin were second and third in laps led, respectively, this season.
Nope.
So I'll give you that. That's all I'm giving you.
Dude, my top fives. I expected 51, and we clipped off 40. That's not that far off. And
Which
again,
that would have been call it 12, 12 or 13 for each guy. So
and
Yep.
had Martin not been cursed this entire year, we're looking at 45.
This whole slide
And
has an asterisk below it now.
Yeah.
Dude's bitter. Dude
and
is
I mean,
bitter.
had Gibbs not been making weird noises as he's riding around in his bumpy car and maybe been focused on driving,
And not
boom,
breaking
we're at
transaxles.
yeah, boom, we're at 51.
Dude, that dude. Uh,
He was just trying to bring out his inner Cale Yarborough.
and then late in the year, the day he did the old Johnny Sauter, every way he could find to break an axle, he was going to. I mean, that car's for sale, by the way.
Jesus.
If you're looking for a race car, that's for sale.
Oh, are axles included?
It said turnkey. Take it or leave
Sorry, Johnny.
it. uh,
Huh.
good Lord.
So yeah,
But
I'll
I mean,
say maybe
but
definitely a little bit high on the expectations there, but
yeah, I mean, but you have with an organization like that, how can you not though?
Yeah.
One of your top three, or when you talk about organizations, your top three, it's any given week, it's going to be Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske.
Yep.
You can't, the expectation is to be that every single week. I understand where you're coming from. It might have been a little high, but Gibbs is a winner. Joe Gibbs wants to win. That's what he does. He wants to win championships. So that expectation is there. And, we talk about it. You get Denny Hamlin to win a championship this year. That adds another 3, 4 to those statistics for you as well. So
Yep. I
I,
will say though, I think overall, I think this year was a lot more competitive. Larson didn't go on his 10 race win, season. Stage wins seem pretty spread out throughout the year as well this year. So it definitely was competitive, and we probably overshot it, expecting it to be maybe a little more isolated. But I also think we didn't do half bad with our predictions either.
no, no. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we were close within every organization in some statistic somewhere.
Mhm.
It wasn't like we were just totally way out in the weeds on this stuff.
Yep.
So no, I don't know, man. I felt like we had some good guesses. We each had one that we really just kind of hammered on. We were pretty damn close.
Yep.
We always had one that I think when we picked our organizations, we knew that we kind of picked one that we were like, this is going to be my hammer.
Yep. For
So,
sure.
what other kind of thoughts do we have on our 2024 predictions, or what other things are jumping out at us?
Well, I mean, like I said, I think we figured that Gibbs would have won a race this year, and that was a big flop.
Yeah,
Um, Boy, I don't know. I think we didn't do half bad.
no.
I think
And,
if
and I think Cam, you kind of got the asterisk in two categories here. Number one, you got the retirement curse. That
Yep,
just you got the Kevin Harvick retirement. I'm done racing curse, and then the unprecedented trade of Justin Haley. I mean, no one would ever have predicted anything like that was coming.
yep.
and
Who?
I don't wanna, pad the stat book here, but top tens here. I did see Haley. I predicted 21, and and they had 14, and then I hopped over to Haley and saw what he had in the seven. He had 3 in the seven, so that 14 becomes 17. We're already getting closer to that 21 number. So
I'll throw this question out for you. Who was a good surprise team for you guys? It could be organization, or we could just go driver, if anything. You think for the year?
I mean, so if you're asking me, a surprise that is totally unexpected across the board, um, that ran as well as he did. Um, One of the teams that I had Spire, I would say Hosevar,
Yep.
being his rookie year, uh, did some good things. Biggest thing for him is if he can put it all together, not piss the entire field off going forward. Um,
Yep.
I guess the other surprise there would be um, unexpected, but I guess coming from left field was the run that Joey Logano put together and ultimately winning the championship. And
Yep.
I don't know what it is. It just feels like every year that it's Toyota and Chevy that dominate the regular season. And so that leads you every year to think, a Hendrick car is going to win it or a Toyota car is going to win it. And, whatever it is, Ford just turns it on late. So um, those would be two surprises for me.
I'm gonna say honestly, it was kind of a pleasant change to see, and I think Van Grill, you could probably attest to this one too. Cindric,
Yep.
I think he's my surprise. He didn't make a ton of noise, but he made enough noise to say, this two seat is solidified.
Yep. Yep. I can definitely agree with that.
I
Obviously, his run at St. Louis with a little bit of help from Blaney, not having enough gas in the tank kind of helped him get that win, obviously. But you were saying too that when the playoffs came around, he kept himself alive.
Yep, he gave himself a chance, and that's all you can do.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think my surprise comes in Cindric, Austin Cindric, in a good way.
Excuse me. Um, I'm gonna flip the script here real quick, and I'm gonna say a surprise disappointing team. And I hate to kind of beat a dead horse with this one, but I think mine's got to go to Kyle Busch. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
just 3 wins coming out swinging with a new organization last year to breaking your 20-year win streak.
yep.
Just man, that hurts.
Finished 20th in points
Yeah, that
with
hurts.
Harrison Burton, Busher, Bubba, Chastain, Rowdy, and then Hosevar, Gill, and McDowell, Gregson, Stenhouse are the drivers around him.
Which again, we got to keep in mind that Burton would have been 30th range in points without that win. So take it for what you feel like it's worth, but
Right,
nonetheless.
correct.
So that if I had to throw a disappointment in a the negative way, that's probably where I would put mine at.
Yep, for sure. So, any other final thoughts here as we kind of wrap up the NASCAR recap of 2024 and touching on our predictions from a year ago? That's crazy to think already.
I had looked it up and I forgot what the date was. Uh, January 30th. January 30th, 31st, whenever the episode came out, but end of January basically is when that one.
Okay, all right. So not quite a full year, but before the season started. To yeah, that'd have been a week before Daytona.
And I think that's going to be another episode we're going to come back to now with the silly season, eliminating an organization, all the driver crew chief changes. I would think that's going to be another episode we'll queue up here in early 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. I would expect that to come after the first of the year. So, well, should we touch on a couple race previews here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Van Grohl, you want to arm wrestle for this one, or what do we want
I'll
to do?
let you take this one because I've got another one picked out.
All right, so we have what has kind of become a big crown jewel, in that being the Bill Bigley 128 at the Freedom Factory down at Cletus McFarland's Freedom Factory for the UARA Super Late Models the weekend before the Snowball Derby. So we have hell of an entry list for this one. A huge Midwest presence, which is awesome to see. Midwest guys, you have the likes of Jeff Storm, Johnny Sauter, Andrew Morrissey, Ty Majeski, Derek Kraus, Max Kaler, Casey Johnson, Luke Fenhouse, John DeAngelis. And then again, on top of that, you have the likes of all of the super late model hammers. So you've got obviously Stephen Nassy will be there, Jet Nolan. That's just the list is insane. Jeremy Doss, Michael Atwell. So damn, it'll be a hell of a race. And we will actually be together to watch that one on Saturday night.
We will.
So that'd be fun. I'm excited for that one.
USAC continues its West Coast swing with races, its final two races actually. Racing at Bakersfield which actually got postponed to Wednesday as we speak. And then Ventura on Saturday for their big Turkey Grand Prix that they hold yearly. Kind of focusing on the Turkey Grand Prix real quick. 54 cars are entered for that one
Holy Christ.
to end the season off. Kyle Larson, JJ Yaley, Corey Day, let's see, CJ Leary. I'm just going down the list here. Tyler Courtney, Tanner Thorson, Carter Seraph, Zach Dom, Kyle Busch, notably entered in that one.
Yep.
Ryan Timms, Cole Foyd, Jason Persley, Carson Macedo are all noted to be or notables entered in this one along with your regular USAC Midget Series racers. So obviously a big one coming up for them. But again, we also have the race on Wednesday night. Their second to last race, again, wrapping up their 2024 season.
Yep. Kind of just touched on the two other races we have on our schedule. You have Southern National Motorsports Park. They'll be having their Thanksgiving Classic, which Brendan Butterbean Queen was the winner last year. And then Formula One heads to Qatar.
Yep.
Yep. Max Verstappen won that one a year ago. So
most notably with Formula One, still fighting for owners championships or drivers championships.
Yep, for sure. So, well, those kind of the handful of races coming up on the weekend. Obviously, the list of races are getting shorter, but the championship battles and the big money is what everyone's chasing. So, well, that wraps up the year ago NASCAR recap on our predictions of how the Cup Series season would go in terms of drivers and organizations. Again, well, we appreciate any likes, watches, likes, comments. Hit the bell to make sure you get to know when all of our content will be coming out. And again, if you're wanting to listen on the go or you're got headphones in or you're going for a drive or whatever you got to do, you can listen on the go on pretty much all of your favorite on the go platforms, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify to iHeartRadio. So there's a whole bunch of platforms we're on. So listen on the go on as well. You can subscribe to there as well. So that wraps up the 61st episode of the Tuesday Track Talk, and we will see y'all next week.